Every martial artist knows that consistency is what gets results. If you want to kick ass at martial arts, you need to put in the reps on a consistent basis. But what people don't talk about is the downside of consistency, when that routine becomes a prison. So here's the big problem. Consistency is absolutely crucial to improvement in martial arts or other areas of our life. But life comes up. We get injured, we get sick, we have family emergencies, we go on holidays. We can't be 100% consistent. But with this mindset, we feel that if we skip a day, we failed. And what often happens with this all or nothing mindset where, you have to do it all the time or it's not good enough, when we do skip, we get this what the hell effect where we think, well, I've skipped one day, I may as well skip 2 or 3. And you see this happen all the time where people haven't been at the dojo in a long time. And then they think, fuck it, I may as well keep skipping. I may as well quit. So this what the hell effect, this all or nothing thinking, this mindset, this rigidity, this is the problem. It's not skipping a day. It's not skipping a workout. It's not skipping a repetition that's the problem. It's our mindset. And there's other risks to this. There's the risk of quitting completely. If I skipped a day, I may as well stop, the what the hell effect. But there's other risks, such as overdoing it, where you're focusing on 100% consistency and then you don't allow for downtime, you don't allow for rest and recovery, whether you're putting in too many repetitions or you're not allowing for enough rest and recovery time. The end result is still the same. It's symptoms of overtraining. This can also lead to burnout, in your training or in other areas of your life, in your work. For instance, when you're so focused on consistency that you're not listening to your body. The other risk of this is putting in shitty effort just to be consistent. So an example of this, I've been using Duolingo to learn Japanese and German. And the app is great, it makes it very simple to learn languages, but the gamification, I think, is problematic. It can be really motivating where it's trying to encourage you to use the app consistently. Of course, they get ad revenue, but when you go on every day, you build up this streak, right? And then you can move up on the leaderboard, and there's all these incentives to keep you using the app. And that's great for learning languages, but the problem is you get so focused on maintaining your streak, and this is what I've found, that if you miss a day and you mess up your streak, you feel like, well, what the fuck, I failed. And this happened a few times in the beginning when I started learning just Japanese, where stuff would come up, I'd miss a day, or some days I wouldn't get a notification from the Duolingo app, and I'd miss a day and it would mess up my streak. And then, the owl comes on and starts bullying you, and it's really cute and funny. But it's also really frustrating because now what's happening is I'm focusing on my streak and I feel like I've failed rather than focusing on all the progress that I've made by learning a language, right? And so then what happens with this focus on maintaining a streak, the problem with an app like Duolingo is that you want to maintain that streak at all costs because there's a sunk cost fallacy, right? Where the longer you work on something and the more effort you put in over time, it seems more valuable and it's harder to quit. You don't want to quit because then the loss seems so much greater, right? If I've done, 1,000 days in a row on Duolingo, there seems to be a huge cost to quitting, right? And missing a day. Versus if I've only done 2 days of a streak, it's not a big deal to mess up my streak and start over, right? So the longer you use it, the more pressure there is to keep, to maintain that streak. So then what can happen, and this can happen with your martial arts training too, if you're focusing so much on maintaining 100% consistency, is some days when you're not feeling it, you might put in really low effort, sloppy work just to maintain that streak. So with Duolingo, there might be some days I don't have a lot of time. I don't really want to do it, but I don't want to lose or mess up my streak. So I do a really shitty, quick lesson. I don't remember anything. I haven't gotten anything of value out of that other than maintaining my streak. But the whole point of using that streak is to motivate you to achieve another goal, which is to get better at martial arts or to learn a language. The streak itself isn't the important thing. So big benefit here, if we can change our mindset around consistency, we can get out of this rigid mindset towards our training where we can allow for downtime. We can allow for injuries to happen and illness and family emergencies and vacations without the guilt, without the anxiety, without worrying about getting behind and losing progress. And with all this, it can help us shift from valuing just extrinsic motivators like trophies and belts and maintaining a streak towards prioritizing intrinsic motivation. And it can help build that intrinsic motivation where we're doing it because we love it. We're doing it because, it ignites our soul. We have this fire inside. We're doing it because we experience joy and satisfaction from that process of working really hard at something and trying to achieve a goal. But some of you at this point might be thinking, wait, if I do skip a workout though, I will get behind. I will lose progress. And I don't want that. I want to stop you here though and remind you this is your mindset, because one missed workout will not derail you if you don't let it, right? It's your mindset that's saying, no, you skipped it, you may as well keep skipping more. One day is fuck all in the scheme of things. It really is, even 1 week, and like, say if you're weightlifting, 2 or 3 weeks off, I think it takes 2 to 3 weeks of no training at all before you start losing gains. So you have time. That's not to say that you should be skipping all these workouts, right? I really don't, I'm not encouraging that. What I'm saying is skipping workouts isn't a big deal if it's an occasional thing and if we don't beat ourselves up over it. It's the beating ourselves up that's the problem, and that's what ultimately leads to getting derailed. That's what ultimately leads to failure. When I was a kid, my dad, whenever he bought a new pair of runners, he would do this really funny thing. And my whole family thought he was nuts for doing this. And it's only, years later that I see the value in what he did. So he would buy a new pair of runners at the mall. We'd come out of the mall, go into the parking lot, go walk towards our car. The first thing he would do, he had his runners on, put them on in the store, walks out, finds the nearest patch of dirt, whatever garden was nearby, and scuffed his shoes with dirt, covered his shoes with dirt, got them all dirty and dusty, and then said, there, ready to go. We're like, what the hell are you doing, Dad? What are you doing? You got these brand new white Nikes. Why are you covering them with dirt? And he said, well, now I don't have to worry about getting them dirty. He knew that if he tried to keep his shoes clean, tried to keep them white all the time, this would become a kind of prison. I tried this with blogging. Now, at first, when I started blogging, my goal was to publish one blog article every Monday without fail. And I wanted to do this because I needed some kind of push to get going. I wanted to build a habit. So having that extrinsic motivator, the streak, maintaining a streak, was really helpful for me for creating a habit of uploading consistently or publishing a blog article consistently. And it helped me, put in the reps and do that thing that was very new for me, right? But over time, something shifted in my brain. And I went from thinking, I want to publish a blog article every Monday to I have to publish a blog article every Monday. So it became a prison, right? That focus on 100% consistency became a prison. And I felt like I can't miss a week. I'd created this pressure for myself to maintain 100% consistency. So even if I got sick, even if it was a holiday, and a lot of holidays fall on a Monday, even if it was a holiday, my kids are home, we want to do something, I have to do this blog article. Even if I had nothing of value to say that day, I couldn't think of anything to write, didn't matter, I had to do it. So the same thing with the Duolingo, where it's like, I just got to get that rep in. I got to get that lesson in. I got to get that blog article published so that I don't mess up my streak. I probably some weeks was creating blog articles that didn't have as much value. I was putting in low effort just to maintain that streak. And then I remembered the story of my dad scuffing up his runners, getting them dirty so he didn't have to worry about it, because the runners were a tool, right? The point wasn't to have pristine runners. The point was to have shoes that he could use so he could do fun stuff. I love writing. I've been writing since I was a kid, but now that I had this rigid schedule, it just messed it up for me. It took away that intrinsic motivation, and it became all about maintaining that streak, right? So I remember that story of my dad, and I thought, I got to get the runners dirty. So I intentionally took a month off from writing a blog article. I got the shoes dirty. Nothing bad happened. Nothing bad happened, and it's allowed me to shift my mindset. Perhaps we can use the idea of a streak to motivate us over short periods of time. So in the beginning, for instance, when you start a martial art or a new project or whatever it is, having an external thing to motivate you, like having a streak, having, the promise of a new belt if you work really hard, working towards a trophy or an award or a medal. That can be really motivating, and it can help us build up that habit in the beginning when it's something we're not used to doing. But over time, we want to shift towards doing it because we love it, doing it because we have this fire inside and we can't not do it. The way to do that is to move away from that extrinsic motivation, to move away from that focus on maintaining a streak at all costs. I'm building up this skill of skipping on purpose and getting right back to it the next day, because that's an important part of it. This helps build resilience, right? So you can weather whatever comes up. You can weather the storm. No matter what comes up in your life, if you can get back on track after, that's resilience right there, rather than your whole world falls apart because you missed a day.